Beginning of our great trip. We are at Fort McHenry. And here we are, safe and sound, out of Baltimore. There's our little Windstar that we're all crammed into. And we're about to go see our very first thing on July 8th, Marilyn's birthday, 1995. Did this defense of the fort.
Who is he? Can you
There's General Matthew.
Who's defending all the dorks?
Fort McHenry. There is some big old ships coming up the bay. need an authentic revolutionary 1812 war meal.
McDonald's.
Mickey D's.
Steven, don't.
We're leaving
just came out of the movie. They're leaving without me. Valley Forge. That's where we are. Continue in 1 minute.
Arnold Freeberg.
Robbie, it better not be on.
It is.
That's something from there.
Why?
So now on recording. Here we are at a garden.
No, it's not a garden.
Whatever.
Guys.
Look, these people are waiting to give us a tour. Let's go get a tour.
Hey,
At Valley Forge.
At Valley Forge.
I saw
Robbie.
Sean Bradley at church.
Robbie.
Sean.
He was down. Come on, let's go.
His wife spoke.
His wife spoke. Very good testimony.
His wife is literally half his size.
Not too bad, bro.
Goodbye. We're on. Nice field. Nice field. Real nice, nice grass. Hey, look at that fence. Now look at the walkway, the brick wall. Whoa. Nice. That's nice. Nice house. My goodness. Nice house. There's more of that wall. More of the wall. Hey, what do they look? Oh, that's my family. Whoa. Nice. So that's nice sewer. That's awesome. Whoa, no. Nice garage. Coming. Nice stairs. Nice everything. Nice window. There's a railroad. Nice bars, must be prison.
I'm lost.
There goes, ow. There's my family. Okay, signing off.
Wait, Steve.
Steve, don't
Can you
move.
see it?
Good draw.
In the doorway. In the doorway is a squirrel. Steven's talking to it. It's coming out. Stay right there, Steve.
Squirrel's not quite sure what to do.
Go pet it, Steve.
Sharp claw.
Yeah, sharp claws.
Were you scared?
Yeah, claw me. I think
What's
I'm
a
gonna
smart
steal.
thing, Stephen? Because sometimes it's
Go.
rude.
Okay,
You
turn
go
it off.
pet it.
Do a zoom on it, man.
I am
And it's a squirrel
a squirrel. Steven Squirrel.
or a skunk.
Is it a skunk, Steve?
It got white, but not too much white. It's a squirrel. You know, we're living without you.
Say bye-bye.
We're gonna have to rewind it.
Below, cross.
Hey, he likes rock music.
See, there isn't a stop. Where's the stop?
That's play. That's what you
Just hit
want.
power.
Now you have the volume down. So
What is that thing? Under.
Used very well. The Baron swears to Joel's and the men.
What's up?
That's
And the men's
okay.
single relative.
That's good.
His fits of temper have become
just
campfire
passed it.
lore overnight. Nonetheless, he obviously has the respect and affection of all of the
Do
men.
they have the?
Resting so much. Seems like we're breaking the window. Right there. Trying to get him out of the truck. He ran into the bus trying to go. Cops caught him. I wouldn't have a slab said it was going. The front window is smashed up too.
Yeah, smash the front too. The front's smashed up too.
You can see it. Handcuffing.
Oh my God.
Can't get around.
Was the State House for the Capitol building for Pennsylvania, and its purpose was to be the official voice of that building. Used to call people to meetings and rang for every conceivable idea you could think of except one. It did not ring to tell you what time it was. There was another bell that would ring the hour. Now, originally they ordered a bell to be made in London, and that bell did get here, and they did test it, and it did crack. And they got into an argument about who was responsible. While that's going on, they turned the responsibility over of making a bell here in Philadelphia to two workmen. Now we know their names. Here they are. Bass and Stowe, Philadelphia, in the year 1753 is when they made this bell here in Philadelphia. And this was then the State House bell, and they put it up in the tower. Now, as far as folks are concerned, it's kind of the Walter Cronkite CNN news of the 18th century. Because when you hear that ringing, it's time to come down for special announcements. If you look back at 219 years ago, yesterday, the bell would ring out to call people together for the first public reading of the Declaration of Independence. They greeted the delegates to the Constitutional Convention and also rang out the message that the Bill of Rights had been formally added to the Constitution over in Congress Hall on the corner here at 6th and Chestnut. That caused some people in Philadelphia to start to refer to this no longer as the State House bell, but the old Independence bell. And then visitors just like yourself coming to this town in the early 19th century liked to go up in the tower. That was like going up in the Empire State Building or the World Trade Center in those days, all right? But you can't do it anymore. It's awful hot up there. We're not doing it. Well, while they're up there, these folks in the early 19th century, they see the old bell and they start talking about it because some folks notice the inscription around the top from Leviticus chapter 25, verse 10, wherein it states, proclaim liberty throughout the land unto all the inhabitants thereof. So some folks up in New England and New York and Pennsylvania hit on the idea of using the outline of a bell as their political party symbol in their struggle against slavery. And so there's one fellow that pens a little poem called the Liberty Bell. And as they say, the rest is history, and that nickname stuck. So as you get to the 1850s, the city of Philadelphia moves the bell from the tower down to the first floor level of what they're now calling Independence Hall. Then President Franklin Pierce, who you don't hear an awful lot about, talks about this bell and its relationship to the ideals of American freedom. And from those days on, various groups of people have used this bell, a symbol of reunion after the Civil War, for ladies at the turn of the century in their struggle to gain the right to vote, for the civil rights battles of the 60s, and especially since World War II. The ideal of proclaimed liberty throughout the land unto all the inhabitants thereof took on international significance. So you see, it's folks just like yourselves who have made this bell the powerful symbol that it is today. But probably what is the most significant question that goes through most people's minds are basically two. When did that bell ring the last, and how did it get cracked? Well, what you're looking at here really isn't a crack. That's a repair job. Somewhere in the 1840s, a hairline crack appeared along this line, almost invisible. And for the kids in our group, the thing underneath there is called a clapper. And every time that would hit the bell, it would sound great. But if there was a crack, the metal would rub. And in rubbing, it would mess up the sound. So in 1846, on Washington's birthday, they wanted to fix the bell to make it sound better. Now you could melt it up, break it, and make a new bell. But they didn't want to do that. This was already a Liberty Bell. So they went to an alternative method of drilling the crack out. The purpose was to separate the metal so it wouldn't rub. And it sounded great until halfway through the day. And if you follow the repair job up, if you want to know when did this bell ring the last time in an ordinary fashion, Washington's birthday in 1846, because this crack here, that's what finished the bell off. Now some of you might say, well, how did that get cracked originally? Would you like Benjamin Franklin using the bell as an experiment? How about the British shooting at it? When you buy the little boxes around here with the bell in them, it says they rang it so much during the funeral procession of John Marshall, it cracked. Or a little girl told me a couple of years ago, she saw it on television, she knows how to bell crack. Somebody pushed it out of a tower, and the Pink Panther was unable to grab it. What I'm trying to say to you is, we know it's cracked, we know they fixed it, but we're not quite sure what caused the crack, other than it simply wore out. So I have no idea what this bell means to you. All I know is a lot of folks come to see a broken bell whose physical voice has been dead for a long time, but it has a pretty powerful message. Now I'll be over here to answer any questions that you have. We kind of leave the front area clear.
Steven, kick the tree one more time. There's Steven. He's trying to kick the tree so leaves will fall so we can catch them. We're just standing in line to go through the Independence Hall right now.
Here we are at Independence Square. And here is the most learned place set up. And waiting to get in are three learned people. Philosophical Hall.
His wings are.
Independence Square.
He gets stronger every
And
time.
that's the Independence Hall. There and there and there and there. Of which we are waiting to get in. 30 minutes for 40-minute tour.
Can I go ahead and play?
And what? Yeah, you can go out there and play. Not through there, not through there. Go around this way.
Steve. You already have tickets for this?
No.
It says, admission to Independence Hall. The Bishop House and the Todd House are by tour only. Tickets
For the first two, but not this
for
one.
the first two? Hi, y'all. Should be obtained at the Visitor Center. Okay.
No, this is not ticketed.
No tickets are required for tours of Independence. Okay. Scare me.
Those are mine.
They do it smart.
So who is he?
1887.
Isn't that one? Remember?
Looks like it's either him or
Mass.
No.
18th century British courtroom. This is the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania's Supreme Court. And it's been restored to its appearance in the 1750s. And if you look around this room, it's pretty familiar to modern eyes. Our courts have not changed that much in the last 250 years. British justice is pretty much the same system that we have in America today. We just adapted it to our needs after the Revolution. But we got our start under the British legal system. We were innocent until proven guilty. We had the right to a trial by jury of our peers. And the jury would have sat in a jury box like this down front. This is for the grand jury here in these two boxes. Now, jury of your peers in the 1700s meant white men over 21 who owned property. Those were your peers, no matter who you were. Unless you were a woman accused of having a child out of wedlock, and you could request an all-female jury, and they met behind closed doors to save the lady's reputation in case she was innocent. But otherwise, it was an all-male jury. Also, under English justice, we had the right to call witnesses on our behalf who gave testimony from a witness stand like that. We had the right to a representation by an attorney, and the attorney shared a common table below the judge's bench. You still see that in British courtrooms today, but not in America. They sit on opposite sides of the room. And there's a reason for that. And it has to do with this rather unfamiliar object, which is in the center of the courtroom. Now, who do you think stood in here? That's right. This is a prisoner's dock. This is why you don't sit with your lawyer, because you're standing trial, quite literally, in a box like this. Now, in the 18th century, the original one of these would have a little slice right here. So there's no slouching and leaning. You have to stand trial for as long as it takes. And under British justice, you had to have a public trial. No secret stuff here. No doors behind us. Open arches let the public in to stand where you're standing right now and watch their neighbors on trial. Now, the number of judges at that time depends on the severity of the case. For something very serious like murder or treason, you have 5 judges. For something less serious like stealing, you have 3. And for something minor like, excessive gossiping, which was a crime in colonial America, you only have 1 judge. But you still stood trial. Now, I like to think that when the 18th century was the time frame that we're talking about, here in Independence Hall, some mighty risky business occurred in the 18th century, and one bit of that risky business occurred right here in this courtroom on July the 8th, 1776. That day they held the very first public reading of the Declaration of Independence. It was held right out in the courtyard behind us. In the old State House Square, over 1,000 people gathered at noontime to hear Colonel John Dixon of the Pennsylvania militia get up on a platform and read the Declaration of Independence aloud to the public for the very first time. The bells of the city rang out, people cheered, many people booed. At least 1/3 of our city was probably loyalists at that time. But if the tall folks move a little bit to the rear, let the not so tall come down first so they can see. Now, if you cross the hall in the Supreme Court chamber, the judicial branch of Pennsylvania's government worked. And here, the Assembly of Pennsylvania, the legislative branch, did their work. This was the capital of Pennsylvania from the 1730s until 1799. And this is where the laws were passed. If you were a white man over 21 who owned property, you could vote. And vote for members of an assembly that could tax you and pass laws to govern you. This was the essence of what made the British Empire tick in the 1700s, self-government. Our mother country largely left us alone. The colonies were settled, they set up some kind of a government. Usually the governors were appointed by the king, not so in Pennsylvania, they were appointed by the Penn family. But the people in all 13 colonies had their own assemblies, and they passed their own laws and their own taxes, and they did not pay taxes to Great Britain, and they liked it just fine this way. They were left alone. Well, in the 1750s, a war broke out called the French and Indian War between the British and our colonies on one side, and the Spanish and the French and the Indian tribes on the other side for control of North America. That war spread to Europe, it spread to Africa, it spread to India, it spread to the West Indies. It was a world war. It dragged on for 8 or 9 years. It was incredibly expensive for both sides to fight, and in the long run, the British and their American allies do win the war. In 1763, the war comes to a conclusion. Great Britain has won. France is expelled from North America. Spain is pushed behind the Mississippi River. And the bells of Philadelphia must have rung out on the day that the peace was announced. It was a
great moment. We were no longer afraid, as it were, of our French enemies across the way there. This is all fine and good, except very shortly after the peace treaty is signed, the British Parliament presents their American colonies with the bill for the war. Britain was broke. Their taxes were already sky high. The British thought you could put jokes in the Declaration of Independence. So they chose Jefferson, and he did a masterful job. In 2 weeks, he had written a rough draft. Congress in this room, not on the 4th of July, but on the 2nd of July, declares us independent. Our actual Independence Day is July the 2nd, 1776. Lee's resolution passes. Then they take up the debate over the Declaration's wording, and they go through it line by line and sentence by sentence. They strike out some things, they add some things, and it's approved in an amended form on the 4th of July, 1776. Was it signed on the 4th of July? No. That's another myth of American history. They needed time for a proper copy to be prepared for signing ceremony. And that took place in this room on the 2nd of August, 76. And the Declaration was signed first by John Hancock and then by the other members of the Congress. And this is the original inkstand used to sign the Declaration of Independence. These men came forward one by one, picked up a quill pen, and engaged in very risky business. They signed their death warrant. That is a list of traitors in the eyes of the British authorities, and we are losing the war in 1776. There's every likelihood that these men are going to be arrested, tried for treason, and killed. And they know it. Even Franklin joked at the time of the signing. He said, "Come, gentlemen, let's hang together, or we will surely hang separately." He wasn't kidding. And they knew it. But they were willing to risk their homes, but none of them lost their lives. By 1783, we had won the war, thanks to an alliance with France and Spain, our 2 former enemies in the previous war. And when the war comes to an end, we're under a document created as government that's called the Articles of Confederation. It was also written in this room. And the Articles of Confederation is not really a constitution. It's more like an alliance between 13 independent nations. And it worked okay as long as we had a common enemy to fight. But when the war was over, the Union begins to fall to pieces. 1786, up in New York, Congress votes to call a meeting to amend the Articles of Confederation in the spring of '87. And the meeting takes place here in this room in Philadelphia from May to September 1787. They call it the Federal Convention. We generally call it the Constitutional Convention, because the gentlemen who came here from 12 states, this time it's Rhode Island who doesn't show up, seal the doors and windows, meet in secret, and they engaged in risky business. They tear up the Articles and start from scratch. They realized the Articles would never do to create a true union. It could not be saved that way. They had to create something totally different. A federal system where power is shared between one nation and its central government and 13 sovereign but not independent states. And that's the compromise that they worked out. It took 4 months to do it, but with the help of people like George Washington, who was the chairman, Noel Ben Franklin, the host, and Roger Sherman, who was here again, to work out compromises, they managed to do it. And on September the 17th, 1787, they adopted and signed the United States Constitution here in the same room, and even with the same inkstand used to sign the Declaration of Independence. Now, according to James Madison, who helped write the Constitution, he overheard Benjamin Franklin commenting to a friend of his as the younger delegates came forward that day to sign the new Constitution. And as the young men came forward one by one, Franklin turned to a friend of his, and this is what he said. "I have often and often in the course of the session looked at that behind the president without being able to tell whether it was rising or setting. Now at length I have the happiness to know that it is a rising and not a setting sun. This is the original chair that George Washington sat in as president of the Constitutional Convention, and that carving of a half sun on the back of the chair gives it its nickname, the Rising Sun Chair. Franklin believed that that sun represented the rebirth of the United States under our new Constitution. He said it had a promise of permanency. He was right. It's still in effect today and is the world's oldest written federal constitution. When they left this room after the session was over and they could finally talk to the press and the public, according to one story, a lady stopped Dr. Franklin on the street and said, "Dr. Franklin, what kind of government have you given us? Is it a monarchy?" And he said, "You have a republic, madam, if you can keep it." And we've been working ever since to keep that republic, and I think we're doing a reasonably good job of it so far. Now, before we go upstairs, anybody have any questions that they'd like to ask? Yes. Snuff box. These are all 18th century antiques. Many of them. The white things, that's pipe. They had plate pipes. Well, this is an inkstand. And this is another snuff box. And chased Washington's army out of the way. Congress had to flee the city in the nick of time to avoid being arrested. And Philadelphia was occupied in 1777 by the British Army. It was occupied for about a year. This building was used as British military headquarters, and soldiers were garrisoned downstairs. The long gallery here was used as a POW hospital. Wounded American soldiers the British had captured at the battles of Grand Line and Germantown were brought here to this room and laid out on the floor for British doctors to treat them for their wounds. Now those doctors tried their very best to save these men's lives. But you have to remember, this is the 1700s we're talking about. They didn't know what germs were. They didn't wear gloves. They didn't even bother to wash their hands between surgeries. So you can imagine what happened. Over 2,000 American soldiers are buried diagonally across the street from us in Washington Square Park. And there you will find the tomb of the unknown Revolutionary War soldier today. And we've talked about risky business that occurred in the judicial chamber of the Supreme Court when the militiamen pulled down the King's coat of arms. Much riskier business occurred in the Assembly chamber when this gentleman of the Second Continental Congress signed the Declaration of Independence. But I like to think that the men who died here in 1777 and 78 engaged in the ultimate form of risky business. It wasn't hypothetical. They joined the army and stood in the front ranks and put their bodies in the path of flying bullets so the United States could be free. They were willing to make that ultimate sacrifice, and they did. And hundreds of them died here in this room for this cause. So I like to think of this room is associated with entertainment and partying, and we want to remember it that way. At the same time, we don't want to ever forget that people died here for the cause of freedom. Now, before I end, does anybody have any questions that they'd like to ask? How about the rest of you all? All right. Well, just to lift your spirits, I'm going to put on a little 18th century harpsichord music to set a party tone for the Governor's Lawn Gallery. I'm going to open up the 2 rooms for you to take a look at. And when the music comes to a stop, that's your signal that the tour has ended and it's time to head down the grand staircase and out the south door into the square. That banister that you'll hold on to is the original banister. It's the only original thing in this building that you can touch. And if old Ben Franklin held on to it, you hold on to it too. And please watch your step. I want to thank you for coming to see us today. I hope you have a wonderful visit here in Philadelphia. Come back and see us real soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Nice job.
He pulled my hair.
I don't know who started it, but you guys stop it. You stop it. Okay?
Gun rack in the Independence Hall.
Come on, Steve.
Wait.
This is the first bank of the United States. Portrait gallery. Very nice.
In fact, he came 11 days early to the Constitutional Convention. And that is James Madison. He sat normally at the first chair, first row. He sat there because he could easily get the attention of the Speaker of the House. Also, right by the fireplace during the winter. You got the window in the summer. Also, he could leave by the exit right there. So he got there pretty early. He normally came pretty early just to get his seat. Upstairs is where the Senate met, and probably the biggest event that ever happened in this room was the changing of powers. One president now to the next. As we all know, George Washington was our first president, served 2 terms. So the people in the American colonies, before they elected Washington as the second term, they had doubts about it because a lot of them felt that having a president would be like having another king. They didn't want another king like George III. Even Thomas Jefferson, who was a
Up to the Senate.
Somebody asked me yesterday, what one question would you want?
And
Ask me.
is that it?
No, I said close. Because
I think if I try to fly down this thing.
Steve. Matt.
Okay, let me see if I can.
Steven. Well, let's see here. What day is it? 10th? July 10th. That's
Monday.
New York Stock Exchange. Go ahead. We just went through the stock exchange. We're on our way up to the World Trade Center someplace. There's Robbie at Brooks Brothers. And there's the Twin Towers, and there goes my lens cap.
Papa, then can I go outside?
Sure. Be careful, Steve.
Oh, no, hay que hacer esta cosa. Vamos
you know that thing that my grandpa's in, the Masonic temple? There's one of them, Masonic temple. It says Masonic
Everything just looks a little bit
blue sign right there.
No, they used to
It's my grandpa's.
More to the south, there's the Statue of Liberty.
Seems to be a pretty clear day.
Yeah. Where's Ellis Island? It must be off. Oh, that must be Ellis Island right there. Wall Street's way up there.
There you go.
Steven. 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 What's this?
He's stupid.
Okay, this is the west side. We stayed somewhere out there. Wonder where Meadowlands is. The impression is we're somewhere out in there. I don't think that's the Meadowlands. Not much to see over here. It's a sailboat.
It's way back there where we first got in the house.
Our hotel's out there someplace.
That's what I was wondering.
You can't see quite clear on where. You can't see the Meadowlands. I can see the Meadowlands.
Here, do you want the binoculars?
I want the binoculars.
Don't, please.
I think there's Madison Square Garden right down there.
Or
Round building.
that round building is?
What? Yay!
Pero yo agarré una que la dejé en el hotel, que tiene mucho que pensar.
Okay, this is north. There's Central Park. There's Chrysler Building, stainless steel.
Oh, there's Central Park. Greenery.
So just down there. Look at all the cabs.
Yo te llamé. Lolita.
Look at that bridge. What's that big long bridge?
The old GE building up there. That's odd. It's General Electric.
Oh, it sure is.
It
Look
doesn't
at
have
it.
a monogram. It just says GE. It's the first time I've seen that.
Dad,
What?
can I see that gorilla one more time?
Way out there, I think I'm looking at Yankee Stadium.
Right next to the cool building over there. To the right.
It's out there somewhere. Now we're going east. I believe that's the UN building right there. On the 86th floor, there's another observation tower at 102. We don't get up there.
No way. Which one?
That should be the Brooklyn Bridge over there.
Wow!
Yeah, Steven's wearing it. Steven's wearing it.
We're going to buy a Rolex. Aren't you proud of us?
Yeah, the knockoff Rolex.
Yeah.
should have eaten. $1.25 for a great hot dog. Hello, birdies. Here we are at the UN.
So he's the person who directly dealing with this.
We are not in America anymore.
What?
Fun, didn't say.
What does that thing do?
It does work.
Nagasaki.
Nice.
1945. This is the side that was facing. Facing up, facing the heat.
They read twice a year. On the first day of
From Norway, it symbolizes the creation of the UN. The phoenix bird in the center symbolizes the United Nations. It's rising from the ashes of the war, like the UN was created after the Second World War, and you can see peaceful scenes of human life up there. Marriage, work, education, and so forth. Anything else at the moment? Okay, then just take your pictures and then we continue. Okay, so follow me, please, if you are ready.
And they suspended the sanctions in September 1994, and the condition was that the federal government of
This is a mosaic of 25,000 little tiles. Of a Norman Rockwell painting.
This gives you two groups. Okay, ready? Let's get your
In Thailand, 24 karat plating. You can see it, it's a General Assembly.
There we are at Rockefeller Center, NBC Studios, the gold statue.
Oh yay, now we can talk about the fountains and everything.
Who are they kidding? Here we are in Central Park, 5:20. Well, the boys are.
Huh?
The guys are.
Do you have that good map with you?
Yeah, I think so, somewhere.
Can't let them go with this. Is the green lettering. Step over this way. Schubert straight down here. Okay.
Pretty, Angie.
Wave. Okay, we're done.
There's Ellis Island out there.
Okay, first of all, talk about New York.
There's Lower Manhattan. So interesting.
Yesterday was a much clearer day than today. It rained last night.
And there's Stephen's airplane. That should be Ellis Island.
Did Matt tell you about the gorilla coming up to him yesterday?
Scared him?
Yeah.
Good. Angie's enthused. Steven. Hi, Mom.
We're on a ferry. Well, here's our bed right there.
There's Midtown, Empire State Building. There's the Staten Island Ferry.
Museum now. No,